Welcome everybody to today's roundtable that MAC is presenting, the opportunities for upscaling, education for elevating and emerging and seasoned co-op leaders. My name is Samantha Black. I am the program coordinator for the OSU Center for Cooperatives. They're with the College of Food, Ag, and Environmental Science. We help manage MAC, the Mid-America Cooperative Council. Mid-America Cooperative Council, also known as MAC, supports educational programming and promotes and fosters the cooperative values. So membership is open to cooperatives, cooperative support organizations, and individuals that support the council's mission. So as I said, I work with OSU. I have my team here as well. You may have interacted with us, in previous educational sessions, youth programming, welcome to co-ops, welcome to the board, and we do roundtable sessions. So today we have Erin Hancock. She is from St. Mary's University. She is the program manager there with St. Mary's, and she's going to be talking about some of their programs that they have available to us. So I will go ahead and switch it over to Erin.
All right. The beauty of Zoom is you always feel like you know what you're doing, and I want to make sure that's the case. So thank you so much for having me here today. I understand you've been doing a number of different roundtables showcasing different opportunities and things happening in the cooperative space. So happy to be part of things today. And my background is a whole variety of cooperative things. I'm sure most of you here today are wearing several hats or have worn many hats in the past of different areas of the cooperative world that you've been operating in. So that's definitely the case for me as well, which brings me honestly to this work. And when it sounds like I'm a champion and cheerleader for what we're doing, it's because I've seen everything that's out there. There's a lot of good things, and I'm super proud of what we're able to do at the center. And when I say we, it's really a broad we, and I'll tell you more about that in a moment. So I wanted to share a little bit about our programs at our center, who we are, what we do, where we came from, and then dig into the specifics of the programs and opportunities, publications, webinars, everything. So everything from the, full degree programs, really deep in the commitment to, even picking up a cooperative case study or attending a free 1-hour webinar. And then of course, we'll have time for discussions and questions. Feel free to drop those into the chat. So this probably looks familiar to all of you, the cooperative values and principles. And really for us, we aim to deliver on helping people to operationalize all of these. But in particular, of course, it's number 5 that drives what we do to make sure that specifically on the sort of business or enterprise education side of things that we are equipping people. That's what we see our role to be. So in particular, we know that cooperatives are complex in how they operate. So it's never just driving toward one bottom line. It's always about the member experience, the impact on community, how we treat employees. It's a lot of different metrics by which we measure success as cooperatives. We know that all cooperatives are different. We like to say if you see one co-op, you've seen one co-op, because we can't really generalize over multiple co-ops of how they operate, of course, because they're always driven by members and the local context. So bringing that complexity into the conversation throughout what we do, that they're people-centered, that they're jointly owned. Of course, that does make things more complex, and that they're democratically governed. And of course, governance looks different in every co-op as well. So we know that in order to manage and navigate these complexities, that people need tools, they need cases, they need to look at successes and failures and iterations in order to know how to develop things that work for their own cooperative. So education research by and for cooperatives. So we do online part-time graduate degrees. We do professional certificates. It's also online part-time. We do short courses in person and online. We do a credit union leadership program that we're going to be doing in 2 weeks, actually in Vancouver, Canada next. International Co-op study tours, and you are among the first to know of one that I'll be announcing today to Costa Rica in February. I know everyone hates to go someplace warm in February and visit co-ops and nerd out, but we make people do these things for their own betterment. We have research publications and symposia and also free webinars, and we record all of those. So a lot of these things I'm mentioning are already at your fingertips online on our website at managementstudies.coop. So three, I suppose, key pillars of what we do that I feel makes what we do a success in the lens of cooperatives is that we are a fit for the sector because we were formed and still accountable to the sector, that we have academic rigor in what we do, and that we've created ourselves as an international hub for cooperative knowledge. Not the only one, but part of the constellation for sure. So we have a cooperative that is affiliated with our university institution. So even though we're embedded within a business school within St. Mary's University, which is in Mi'kma'ki territory in Nova Scotia, Eastern Canada, we also have a cooperative of folks that are from multiple countries that have informed what we do and often had stepped up to put in the money and the leadership to be able to get these programs off the ground, and still to this day are a big part of our bursary supports and program development support. So we're really happy with that. And so these folks are from Canada, the US, the UK, those original folks who really wanted to make it happen, specifically looking at an alternative to an MBA that was specific to all types of co-ops. And Paul Hazen, I'm not sure if that name is familiar. He used to head up NCBA CLUSA in the US, now heads up the Overseas Cooperative Development Council, was someone who was right at the table from the very beginning. So when folks say, oh, that's nice that this is happening in Canada, we should do something like that in the US, I always say, you did, this is yours too. So please know that, you know, even on our board and within our wider membership, it's very much still part and parcel to our international partners, including lots of folks from the US. So these are your programs, and they're not specific to the Canadian context, although we do draw examples from Canada and beyond in our teachings. We're located at St. Mary's University, so we've been around for a very long time, and in particular, the business school is the strongest and biggest faculty on campus. We are, feels like a pretty unique island within the business school, so we have the rigor of other programs like the Masters in Technology, the other MBA programs, and so forth, but in particular, we often bring the sort of social accountability, social enterprise side of things into the conversation within our university. So we are both embedded in, you know, an accountability structure for the rigor of our programs, as well as making sure that we are very much still foot in the sector, accountable to the sector as well. And so I won't bore you with all the accreditations, but we are an accredited business school. And you'll get these slides after if you want to go back and look at any of these things. And there's more information on the websites too. In particular, in our approach to both our short courses, our longer courses, as well as our publications and so forth, you know, it is those unique aspects of the cooperative model we're trying to get at. And I know that there's a lot of great institutions that teach technical skills, or maybe they teach, you know, they do programs that are embedded with, say, agricultural research and things that help cooperatives to perform. We sort of go across sectors in looking at sort of management leadership and ways to engage with membership in a way that honors what is unique to cooperatives. So that's how it sort of is. Our biggest program is sort of an alternative to an MBA in that way. And so helping people build fluency in the co-op model seems to be something that comes up throughout all of our programs. Just a quote from one of our former board members from our affiliate cooperative. Yeah, and again, that differentiated value proposition. So knowing how to live by that, knowing how to make decisions and allocate resources based on that, but it flows throughout all of our operations, of course, as cooperatives. It shows up in marketing, it shows up in governance, it shows up in how member voice comes through and what we do. And certainly you can go very microscopic on that. And in some of our courses, we get to do that. But in the end, it's about both living that, knowing how to navigate that, as well as being able to communicate that effectively. So then the aspect of that sort of third pillar, I suppose, for us is that we've created ourselves as an international hub for cooperative knowledge. So we have research, publications, international partnerships. We hold international symposia where every couple of years we'll choose a different cooperative topic and bring together experts on that, and often that results in a book. In 2021, we did our second governance conference. This was the first one we had done online. Of course, you know why. And we were able to publish a book from that we were able to publish as open source. So on our website, you'll find a link to both the recordings for all of those presentations within the governance symposium, but also the free open source book resulting from all of the research that was presented there as well. So really happy whenever we get to contribute something like that that advances our knowledge of cooperatives. And then of course that knowledge feeds back into the education programs we do as well. We do working papers on various co-op topics, as well as case studies. And that is something that sometimes we lack in the co-op sector, just in terms of looking at an exemplary example of how cooperation can work in different aspects. So we have a couple that are really useful on worker ownership and what that looks like, especially with the emergence of I would say employee dissatisfaction and the instinct of people to want to own their own business, maybe collectively within the co-op model. There's a lot of great case studies to look at there, as well as a lot that focus in on particular aspects of governance as well. So these are some examples of some of our research and publications. This here on the left is the open source book that is available digitally for free. You can also buy it if you like to have some summer reading and sit by a fire and read it. It's a big one. Some articles we publish are more easy to digest, quicker reads, things to bring to meetings, spark some thoughts. Often we try to present models and frameworks within what we write about as well to help anchor people's ideas around these cooperative enterprise topics. And so I won't go too deep into this, but just to say we've been around now for 20 years, starting with the master's program, and then over time have expanded and have had a lot of people from different organizations, different sectors of the cooperative economy, different folks in the organizations in terms of their role, and different tenures within the cooperative sphere. And even for those who have been around for a long time and do in fact know quite a bit, whenever someone like that comes through the program and said, I learned things today, I didn't know what I didn't know. That's always a joy for us. Also, with our leadership programs and our study tours. So we still keep our classes relatively small so that we have great interaction between folks. It's also a networking opportunity for folks, but also enough diversity that you get a good amount of healthy debate. So this is a snapshot of our suite of programs, our online part-time certificate in co-op management program, a graduate diploma in cooperative management, or a master of management co-ops and credit unions. So these are sort of a stepping stone program. The courses contained in the certificate and the graduate diploma are also within the master's. So if people want to dip their toe in and start with the certificate, they can then apply those courses to these other degree programs. But they're all at the graduate level, focused on business through the cooperative lens. And then we also do shorter programming. And like I said, we also do as little as 1 hour webinars as well. So this is the one that I think is most interesting to people. It's sort of our flagship program, is our Master of Management Cooperatives and Credit Unions program. And this is because when folks are humming and hawing over the, do I want to do an MBA? I know I want to position myself for a higher leadership position within the organization, or I want to deepen my knowledge, or maybe a board will hire someone into a leadership position that is good at the technical skills or knows that area of the economy, but doesn't have any cooperative background. That's often, the kinds of people that we'll see coming to us. Or also the cooperative keeners, who are people who may be in their, early stages of career, but know that they want to be in cooperatives forever. So they want to jump as deep as they can straight away. So that's the master's program, 3 years. So all of the types of disciplines you'd address in an MBA program, you also address there, but again, through the cooperative lens. And even when we bring in examples that are outside of the cooperative sphere, we're analyzing it through the lens of the co-op enterprise model. The graduate diploma is 16 months. There's very much cohort feel to our program. So you get to know the other people within the programs and get to debate and hear from them and learn from their sort of lived experience. Everyone in the program is working or serving on a board or consulting with or in a support organization for cooperatives. So everybody has that day-to-day lived experience, sometimes multiple. People are using their organization as case study throughout their program. So they're able to get to know, deepen their own knowledge about their organization and the various people within it. If they're in a very large organization, through this program, often we hear people say, I got to know the senior leadership team. I got to know how marketing works. I got to know these other aspects of what we do that isn't normally part of my job. So it often builds loyalty within employees as well, because they feel like they deeply understand their organization so much better. And are able to be more systems thinkers, I think, as a result of that. So a lot of this information is available on the website, but basically we start with an in-person orientation and then courses move to online. So over the course of a year for the master's and graduate diploma, it's 2 courses run simultaneously. And then there's breaks in between, a longer break in the summer and a break in the winter in December as well for a few weeks. And so people who are working full-time do fit this in, but they probably do have to give up their badminton hobby or something like that in order to fit it in and think a little more strategically about their time. But most people do continue working full-time while studying. But to not have to step away from your career while being able to study, and sometimes being able to double dip, doing something that's super relevant to your work as well as something that's part of your course. We often hear, depending on the course, people say that as well. We deliver online on a program called Brightspace, and we also have live sessions, but we try to keep things mostly asynchronous to allow for people in different time zones and with different work commitments to be able to engage in the program, not have to take big chunks of time away from their work. Some folks at orientation, these folks have not graduated. And just an example of our courses within our master's program. The ones with the star beside them are part of the graduate diploma. Like I said, a lot of these you'd find in an MBA program as well, but again, these are tailored a bit more toward the cooperative model. And with the degree program, the master's degree in particular, we have an independent research project as well, where folks through the research methods course are able to determine what topic they want to dig into, whether that's something specific for their own organization, or it's a line of business they want to explore, or a different technique of doing member engagement that they want to explore. Sometimes people do interviews, surveys, sometimes people review the literature or do more creative projects like a webinar series interviewing people. We have a lot of different shapes and sizes for that, but it allows people to go deeper on something that matters to themselves and or their organization. And they're paired with a expert in the field, either through our faculty body or through one of our partners globally. So as part of our master's program, we also do an international cooperative study tour around 10 days. We alternate each year, whether we do Italy or Spain. Some of you probably here have been to these places. They're known around the world as sort of these exemplar places to visit in terms of understanding cooperatives, both a long history, a large complex structure, certainly operate within the global economy as well and have challenges with a lot of the things that many other cooperatives around the world face, but come up with pretty interesting solutions and build a lot within in terms of investment programs, training programs, exchanges, a lot of collaboration between cooperatives. And so we visit those areas, we meet with the scholars, we meet with the cooperative managers, we visit cooperatives, and we also open up about 4 to 5 seats each year for folks like yourselves who are not in the master's program, but want to go as a learning experience. The study tour in its own. Of course, we eat and drink and are merry as well. And it is an option for graduate diploma students to do that as their course as well. This is some folks who went last year to Italy. Yeah, and I mentioned about the final research project, some examples, challenges of board governance and worker cooperatives, co-op member loyalty formulas, internal co-op education and training for succession. So sometimes people are building things that are tangible and applied, and other times it's more an exploration where they're, can go back to their boards or their management team to present what they've found that can then inform a path forward. So the good news is people really like what's happening here. We have a lot of feedback and adjustment. I don't think a course runs more than once without having some type of tweak or adjustment. So we're happy to say that we're responsive to what students in the sector and our board and our membership are letting us know is important, and sort of coming up and emerging within the sector as important things to tackle. And so that tends to work out. People who engage in the programs recommend them, are satisfied with them, feel like they significantly change how they do their jobs. So and increase the impact of their organization for their members as well. Yeah, and folks say that they feel more equipped to do their work. The fluency that we set out to help them with is achieved, that they gain an intimate understanding of their organization. Most people, before they even finish the program, have expanded their role, whether that's serving on other boards or growing within their own organization or creating new projects for themselves. Yeah, they become better time managers. That's what happens when you're studying and working at the same time. And they are more confident in communicating. Yeah. So this is someone who came through our programs, actually now is a course support or a teaching assistant within our programs, is someone that works in co-op capital at Shared Capital Cooperative, and also with worker co-ops as well. Yeah, has done a lot with the education, and did a final research project looking at cooperative associations and federations, and came up with a lot of really interesting findings there that several associations reached out to have him come present. So, and informed his own work as someone who runs this Valley Alliance of Worker Cooperatives as well. This is Michelle. She's on the west coast of Canada. And for her, a lot of it was around confidence. Already, and this is almost true for everyone, already a very insightful and smart person coming into the program, but with all those examples, case studies, research under her belt, was able to bring forward ideas with a lot more confidence in her senior leader meetings, and introduced a lot of new programs actually within her organization. So admissions, I won't go deep into that again, that's on the website, but we still have a couple of seats actually available for this year if people want to jump right in all three of our programs. I'll introduce the certificate in just a moment. But people are involved in organizations. Ideally, they have an undergraduate in good standing. Not all of our students do. Some people have, started as frontline staff and grew in their organizations. Maybe they've been there 15 years, didn't get any formal education, but now are in more of a leadership role or moving into a leadership role and want to officially have that degree. And so this is a good fit for those folks too. So every year we have a few people who don't have an undergrad who come into the program. We have supports, we have a writing center, we have mentorship from past alumni. So that's all there. So I always say we try to overcome the hurdles with people. So if finances, time, qualifications are an issue, reach out, and we try to, negotiate that and move through that with you. For the certificate program, it's a selection of 5 courses from the master's and graduate diploma program. So it's sort of taking the first year of those degree programs and slicing it in half. So it's just one course at a time. So it's about 7 to 10 hours a week in terms of commitment. So it's a pretty good standalone program with these 5 courses: history of the movement, co-op enterprise model, strategic advantage, sort of a strategy course, governance and participation, and innovation course. That's very applied. People end up actually trying to examine and potentially implement something within that course as well. So great as a standalone program, online, part-time, again, for people who are working as well. And also those courses can be applied to the degree programs later if people decide to go on. It's a little bit of a simpler application process. Yeah. It's our orientation from last year when we had to do it online. A lot of really great people. So those are the bigger online programs, and you've heard a little bit about the history of our center and how we came to be in our philosophy, I suppose. Now I'll get into the shorter courses. If you do have any questions on the things that I've just mentioned, drop them into the chat and we'll make sure to address them. I mentioned webinars. So we do webinars that are an hour to 90 minutes. We just did one last week, actually. So now the information, the report, and the recording are now posted to our website. We'll launch some more in the fall. If anybody has topics they want to see addressed, we have a pretty strong network of folks, both practitioners and academics, as well as those people who bridge both of them. So whenever we get a good suggestion for a topic, we often can make it happen. Or maybe you're sitting on something that would be interesting to other people as well. We're doing a cooperative summer law school. So this is a master class in cooperative law. So people who are already involved in advocacy law, maybe they're lawyers, maybe they work in advocacy or government relations within cooperative organizations, or take a particular interest in cooperative law, advocacy, policy, and that type of thing. We have seats still open for this course happening in Croatia in August. It is a beautiful part of the world where this is in Pula. And of course, we'll do some cultural things as part of that tour as well. But the folks who are leading that are the go-to people from the International Co-op Alliance on law and supporting and consulting with international governments on cooperative law. So it's going to be some great thinkers in that room and a lot to learn there, and a great networking event as well. So that's August 20th to 30th. And Dr. Sonia Novkovic, who is the co-op economist who oversees our center, she's from Croatia and spends half the year there. So she'll be a co-host on the ground. So fascinating person herself. We also have cooperative governance courses coming up. So we're doing one pre-conference course before the NCBA CLUSA Impact Conference in Arlington, Virginia, so DC area, the day before the Impact Conference starts. The Impact Conference is wonderful. If you folks haven't managed to get there, it's a really great event. And so we've had this partnership for a long time. NCBA is a member of our co-op, and we're also a member of NCBA. And so we synergize on these types of things. So we are doing a cooperative governance course for one day there. I don't think NCBA has opened their registration yet, but if you email me, then I'll add you to the list to find out once they do. And we're also running this course in Mississauga, Ontario at the end of October as part of the Directors Forum program as well, which is for all types of cooperatives, and registration's now open for that one as well. This is the one that is fairly new. This is our cooperative tour to Costa Rica. This one focuses specifically on cooperatives and sustainability. So we have the date set for February 17th to 26th. So we're doing it in partnership with a university in Costa Rica, and also in partnership with a sister center within our business school, the Center of Excellence in Accounting and Reporting for Co-ops. So that's a really interesting center because they not only host a free online journal, peer-reviewed journal, which is the International Journal of Cooperative Accounting and Management, but they also do a lot of research into how we measure success in cooperatives, how we do accounting. They're doing a partnership with the UK right now and looking at accounting standards and best practices, ISORP. You all know what that stands for more than I do. I keep forgetting. Standards of recommended practice, I guess, international standards of recommended practice, yeah, for accounting. And so it's looking at how what we consider to be standard and how accounting is run sometimes doesn't fit exactly with the cooperative model. So looking at other standards that can be accepted as common practice for cooperatives and for their membership and for governments in audits and so forth. So they do a lot of really interesting work, and also social metrics of success and so forth, and environmental metrics of success. So they're a great center as well in what they do, both in research and publications. And so we're partnering with them and this other university in Costa Rica to do this tour. It will be beautiful. It will be a nice time of year there. And there's some really great cooperatives of all different types, from financial cooperatives to agriculture, and cultural and social development, a lot of really interesting ones. So more information on our website on that. We just opened registration. There's going to be 17 seats available for that tour. So that should be a really good one. If you're interested, jump in. We also do a credit union leadership program. I wasn't sure if people here on the call today interface with financial co-ops much. Is that the case? Some might. Okay. So we run a week-long leadership program called Development Educators Program. We run the Canadian version of that, but it's actually part of an international partnership where organizations across the world are offering these leadership programs to folks that are working in credit unions or serving on boards, are working in support organizations of credit unions. So everything else we do is cross-sector, financial and non-financial, but this one in particular is part of this international program. And so folks would do a program in their home region for a week, and there is a US Development Education, USDE program. I think there's one, the next one's happening in October, I believe, and I think it's in Madison. And the website for that is doglobalgood.org. And that shows you all the programs around the world. But basically, people do their own home program for a week, then they do a program somewhere else. So Canada, for example, or the Philippines or Africa. It's hosted in different areas of Africa each year. And then they do a project for their credit union. And then they attend an international conference. And those 4 components create a designation. So the IQ'd designation, International Credit Union Development Educator, or it can just be a standalone leadership program just for a week. So that's an awesome one. We just offered it last month in Halifax. We're doing it in Vancouver in 2 weeks, and we're doing it next year in June in Halifax again. It's a wonderful, it's a transformational program. It's a trust the process kind of program. Yeah, so I wanted to sort of give the quick rundown of everything we do. If we want, we can also visit the website and poke around so you see more of what's there, but this is kind of a snapshot of some of the key things that we do. And now I'll take questions, comments, suggestions, ideas. And I see there's something already in the chat. If someone takes the certificate, would they duplicate classes if they later decide to take the graduate or master's? No. So the 5 courses they would take as the certificate sort of stay on their file. And the certificate is designated as a professional development program. And then the other ones are designated as degree programs. So there is an additional application process to get into the degree programs. But once in, we give advanced standing for those 5 courses, so they don't have to retake them. So for people who are concerned about time commitment, they say something like, my kids are done high school in 2 years and I want to get started, but I'm afraid to do that at this point. Then they might start with a certificate because it's a bit of a lighter workload. And like I said, the first year of the program gets sliced in half. So it takes a 3-year part-time program and stretches it into 4. So then the first 2 years would just be 1 course at a time, or 7 to 10 hours a week. So it makes it a little bit lighter, and then they go into a bit heavier after that. Yeah, so they don't have to take it again. They don't have to pay for it again. Yeah. Go ahead, Hannah.
Hey, Erin, thank you so much. I learned a lot. I didn't know about your programs. I had heard about the programs, but there was so much more. One of the things we talked about in preparation for this that I'd love if you could give a little bit more information about is kind of who participates in these programs. Mm-hmm. You know, initially, I had thought about it as maybe folks who are mid-level management, but you know, as we kind of talked, that doesn't really seem to encompass everybody. So I don't know if like an average participant is a fair way to think about it, but maybe a little more about who participates.
That's a great question. So we ran the numbers a year ago, and we found out that the average person in, say, the master's or the graduate diploma program has about 18 years of work experience. Not all of that was in cooperative. Some of it, you know, they worked in a bank before they moved into a credit union or something like that. But so that, you know, puts people closer to into their 40s, but we've had people as young as 21 and into their 60s on the other side of that. So it depends. I would say the average person has been with their organization probably for a couple of years. Like I said, the odd person, their board hires them, and as a sort of requirement of hiring them from outside the sector, so we want you to do this program, so they jump in right away as sort of part of their orientation and getting their footing. Yeah, and they are often middle management. We have had folks who are more frontline with members, and we have had folks who are C-suite executives as well. So there is a real variety. I'd say the program is designed for people who have a bit of a knowledge of cooperatives, a bit of a knowledge of their organization, and some amount of sort of the 10,000-foot view. So whether that's in a manager role or able to sort of look out at the organization and sort of be able to appropriately see room for growth and so forth. But that's not the case for everyone. So there is some flexibility within that. Is that helpful?
Yeah, that's very helpful. I find it fascinating that the average participant has 18 years of work experience. I think it's a really important opportunity, I think, to keep in mind for folks in the co-op sector, particularly, as you mentioned, folks who come into the co-op sector new, right? Maybe they have work experience, but not in cooperatives, and this can help them get oriented in that space.
Most definitely.
Yeah,
that's it.
Thank you.
Just as an example, I was just gonna pull up just the folks who are entering this year into the degree program, just to give a sense of the true variety of people in the program. So we have, let's see, a definite mix of people. So we have people who are frontline within worker co-ops. We have folks who are middle managers in insurance cooperatives. We have folks who are founders of worker cooperatives, CEO of a credit union. Let's see, some folks who are part of associations, so senior leaders in associations, folks who are doing consulting work within the sector, someone who is in a senior role in a funeral cooperative, someone in a more junior role in a housing cooperative, folks in, let's see, middle management and food cooperatives. Yeah, I mean, and the list goes on. Definitely we get retail and financial co-ops. Definitely, there's always a mix of those within our programs, but then a mix of other worker housing, ag. I actually don't know if we have too many folks in the ag space this year. Last year we had a lot, so every year is a little bit different. And we do have folks this year from Canada, the US, Trinidad, and yeah, so that's actually the mix this year. Whereas last year we had folks from the Philippines, from the Gambia and Africa, from the UK. Yeah, so every year is a little bit different.
That's fascinating. I could really see also that diversity of sectors and geographies really creating a unique learning experience. I know that when we host programs as part of the council, we hear that learning from other co-ops is a part of that. So I could see that cross-sector learning being beneficial.
Absolutely. And we've definitely seen that. I could think of, a specific example of folks from food cooperatives who were for the first time really exposed to worker cooperatives and then started asking the questions, here's these people who their livelihoods is invested day to day in the cooperative. Maybe we should consider having more of a multi-stakeholder model to our food cooperative where employees have a seat at the table as well, because it is such an important part of their life. And they would have more direct exposure to the various aspects of the organization. So we've seen some of those things emerge from exactly what you just said. Oh, thank you, Janice. Appreciate all you have done and continue to do in the cooperative space. Yeah, absolutely. We feel really lucky, and our team is a team of 9, and half of those people are focused more on research, but that's our core team in the center. And then we have another dozen who are our faculty or trainers. And then we have 9 on our board who are beyond that, but often engaged directly in the things that we do as well. And then we have all of our alum, probably 30 or 40 of them every year, somehow directly involved in what we do as speakers or trainers, or faculty within our programs even, or collaborating on research. And then, the circles keep going, the partners like with NCPA CLUSA and the Co-ops and Mutuals Canada. So when we're excited and proud about what's going on, it's not us sort of patting our own backs. It's saying this truly is an example of Principle 6 and all these people bringing their wisdom, networks, resources together to make these things happen. And every year is different. We've never had 2 years that are exactly the same, depending on the needs, right?
Thank you very much, Erin, for presenting today, for showing us more information about the programs. I myself am relatively new to the cooperative world, so it's very interesting to see all the programs that are available out there. So thank you guys very much for joining us. Thank you, Erin, for presenting, and everybody have a great Thursday.